This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. That little chord sequence that you just heard there is an example of a non-12 bar blues chord sequence. I often refer to it as the gospel blues chord sequence because it's got that sort of gospel feel to it and a lot of gospel chord changes in it. You're probably aware of this chord sequence from songs like Need Your Love So Bad by Fleetwood Mac. There's an example that springs to mind straight away, but it's been used countless times by many different artists, so I thought I'd put it under the microscope today in this episode of Chord Progressions. This is number 11, I think. I've got one more to do and we'll make it an even dozen, and then we're going to be moving on to something else. More on that later. But for now, I tell you what, let's take a look at what makes this chord sequence tick, why it works so well and what's going on. Here it is. Okay then, here is the chord sequence, and you can see that it's basically in two sections. You've essentially got a verse that we go twice through, slightly different ending on the second time through. Then we go to the middle section where it goes to the D and D sharp diminished at the beginning of that, and then we're back to the verse section at the end. This is a fairly typical gospel blues type format. I'm thinking of songs like Need Your Love So Bad by Fleetwood Mac, or even that Eagles Christmas song that Bon Jovi, I think was Bon Jovi or just John Bon Jovi. Anyway, he had a hit with it, back in the 90s as well. So what's going on here then? Oh, by the way, there is a downloadable PDF of that chord chart there for all my Patreon supporters. And while we're at it, let's have a look at the chord shapes. There they are on screen at the moment. So if there are any of those chord shapes that you're unfamiliar with, either pause this video and learn the new chords, or, as I say, if you're a Patreon supporter of mine, those chord shapes are available as a downloadable PDF from my Patreon page. Where else? Anyway, what we got going on here then in terms of theory? Well, basically, I tend to think of this chord sequence has been broken down into three distinct types of chords. We've got these chords, the A, A7, D, B minor 7, E, and E7, which are all broadly speaking from the orbit, as I say, of A major. Most of those are actually in the key of A major, but the A7 isn't. It's in the key of D major, but it kind of fits into a blues in the key of A, and it's, you know, it's available to use, let's say. Then we've got these chords, the D minor, the F, and the E augmented. Now, all three of those chords can be found in the orbit, if you like, of A minor. Okay, if we could, for instance, look at the A harmonic minor scale. Which has all of the notes of a D minor chord, all of the notes of an F major chord, and all of the notes of an E augmented chord. So we can clearly see that those chords are coming from sort of an A minor tonality. And when you shift between an A major tonality, you know, those chords that we mentioned earlier, A's and A7s and D's and so on, to an A minor tonality, that is what we call a little bit of modal interchange. So that's what's going on there, basically borrowing chords from a parallel key, essentially going from the key of A major to the key of A minor. Then the other three chords that we need to talk about here are what I'm going to call tension chords, and those are the D sharp diminished 7th, the F sharp 7th, and the B 7th. Okay, now there are various ways that you can categorize these chords. We could call the F sharp 7th a secondary dominant chord. We could call the B 7th a secondary dominant chord, but I'm just labeling them all as tension chords. Their role in this chord sequence is to provide exactly that, tension. For example, when we go from the D chord in the chord sequence up to the D sharp diminished 7th, that is a very tense, unsettled, unresolved sound, which makes it sound all the more sweet and resolved when you get back to that A major chord. Just listen to that and you'll see what I mean. D, D sharp diminished 7th, oh, that's quite tense, and then resolve back to the A major chord. It's a way of creating tension in a chord sequence, essentially a little bit like a cliffhanger in a movie plot or something like that. That is Bruce Willis hanging off the edge of the skyscraper by his fingernails, and that is when he's miraculously gets out of the tight spot that he's in, that kind of thing. The same can be said for the F sharp 7th when we go from the A to the F sharp 7th. Again, that's a tense, unresolved sound, and then we go to the B minor 7 that comes after it. So A, F sharp 7, and B minor 7. That F sharp 7th there makes that B minor 7 sound more resolved when we arrive at it. And the same can be said for the B7 that's in the middle section as well. We start that middle section with a D chord, going to the D sharp diminished 7th, again tension and release, back to the A, E, A, and then after that A chord we go up to the B7. Okay, that's quite a tense chord, and that leads us to the E chord which follows it. Again, that sort of A to B7, tension, and that resolves it, and then we have that F chord from the A minor universe there, back to the E, which resolves us back into the A for the final verse section. So that's essentially what the function of each of these chords is in this chord sequence. You know, we've also got, I'll just mention here, the one little sequence that's in there where you have the A to the F sharp 7, to the B minor 7, to the E7, That is known technically as a 1-6-2-5 sequence, because if we're thinking in terms of A major, the first note of the scale is A. The sixth note of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is F sharp. The second note of the scale is the B, 1, 2, and the fifth note of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is E. So we've got a chord based on the 1, a chord based on the 6, the F sharp, a chord based on the 2, the B minor 7, and a chord based on the 5, which is the E7, which takes us back to the A again. That little 1-6-2-5 thing there, with either F sharp as a tension chord, as the dominant 7th chord, or you could just play it as a minor, A, F sharp minor, B minor 7, E7, back to A again. It's a 1-6-2-5. It's a standard ploy used by songwriters from time immemorial. You'll find it in loads and loads of songs. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to make sure you know what the 1-6-2-5 sequence is in any given key. You know, you can work it out quite easily just by transposing what we've talked about there. You know, if you want to know what 1-6-2-5 is in C major, well, there's an A, 1, 2, 3 frets above is a C. Just move all of those chords in the A major 1-6-2-5 up 3 frets and you've got a C major 1-6-2-5. Just handy little things to know. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got for you on the topic of this chord sequence. But on Saturday, in the Saturday solo video, I'm going to show you how to play over such a chord sequence. But just have some fun learning some new chord shapes and, you know, getting some new stuff under your fingers until then. And there is, of course, a full chord chart for that chord sequence, along with a PDF of all of the chord shapes that you're going to need, and the video of me playing the chord sequence and that little clip that you've just seen there of me explaining it, and a backing track to play along with. Where is all that, I hear you ask? Well, as you would expect, it's up on my Patreon page. There's the address and the link is in the description. It's only $3 a month and you get all of these extra resources that go along with these YouTube videos that I put up. Thank you so much to everyone who's supporting me in that manner. It is truly, truly appreciated. Or any of the other ways that you can help me keep the lights on around here. All the links are in the description. Thank you to anybody who's doing any of that. And thank you in advance if you're thinking about doing it. Now then, I mentioned that this was the penultimate video in the series on chord sequences. And once the last one's out the way, I'm basically going to be starting a new series of videos on music theory, basically. So if you have any questions or queries about, you know, any aspect of music theory, let me know, and I will, you know, if I get enough requests on the same topic, I will do a video on that topic. I will be prioritizing questions that come from my Patreon supporters, because it's only fair, because they put their hand in the pocket every month to help me, you know, keep the lights on around here and put food on the table. But, you know, any queries about music theory, just let me know and I shall see what I can do to help out. And that is pretty much it for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it useful and informative and maybe a little bit inspiring. And if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not give me a like while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream on Friday, 5 PM UK time. I'm sure you know all about that by now, but if you're new to the channel, basically what happens is, at the appointed time, 5 PM UK time on a Friday, we sit and have a beer and a chat. It's an incredibly civilised way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.